Everyone told him he was wasting his time. His family said it. His friends said it. The people who claimed to care about him most sat across tables and said it with certainty, the way you'd state a fact about gravity or weather. But here's what stopped them short. He wasn't fighting back. He wasn't defensive or angry. He was just building, quietly, persistently. While they watched the same evidence he was watching and saw only failure. They saw time passing with nothing to show. He saw preparation. They saw doors closing. He saw doors that hadn't opened yet. They were all looking at the same evidence and seeing something completely different than what he knew to be true. Which one of them was right? That question hung in the air between doubt and knowing, between the world's certainty and one person's conviction. This is where his story begins, not in the moment of success where everyone suddenly believes, but in the space before that, in the lonely, uncertain space where only one person can see what's coming. Let me tell you his story, because this isn't about him being special. It's about what happens when someone refuses to let others' limitations become their ceiling. He wasn't always confident. In school, he'd sat in the back row. Teachers called on him and he froze. His grades were average. His parents loved him, but they were practical people who believed in practical paths. Jobs with names everyone recognized, salaries you could count on. There were no artists in his family, no entrepreneurs, no dreamers who'd made it, just people who worked and paid bills and accepted what came. He accepted it too for a while, followed the script, until something shifted. He couldn't name it exactly. It wasn't a lightning bolt moment. It was quieter than that, and knowing that grew from somewhere deep, a pull towards something that made no logical sense but felt more real than anything logical ever had. He'd been wrong about so many things. He doubted himself countless times. But this feeling, this thing that called to him, felt different. It felt like remembering something he'd always known. He started exploring it in secret, in the margins of normal life, not telling anyone, just listening to that quiet knowing and following it. The people who loved him had no idea, and when they eventually found out, they'd have plenty to say about it. Every morning, he woke before the sun. No one was asking him to. No one was watching. He simply showed up. He'd spend 2 hours on his craft before the world woke up. Some days he felt inspired. Most days he didn't. He did it anyway. He studied. He practiced. He failed at small things and learned from them. He wrote things no one read. He built things no one saw. There was no applause, no validation, just the quiet rhythm of showing up. Weeks passed like this, then months, then a year. People began to notice. At first, the comments were light. Still doing that thing? His uncle would ask at family dinners, smiling but not quite meaning it. When are you going to get a real job? His mother would wonder aloud, not to hurt him but to protect him from disappointment. Don't you think it's time to be realistic? Friends would suggest gently, as if realism was wisdom and he was foolish. He'd brush these off, tell himself they didn't understand. But each comment landed, each one added weight, small stones gathering in his chest. Then one day, something shifted. The comments weren't casual anymore. They became consistent, coordinated, aggressive. Then it happened. His father sat him down, not casually, deliberately. "I've been thinking about your future," he said, and those words landed like a warning. "You're 26 now. Look at your friends. They have homes. They have security. And you're still..." He didn't finish. He didn't need to. His father's disappointment was louder than any words. That same week, his boss pulled him aside. "You're distracted. Your work is suffering. You need to focus on what's real." Then his best friend from childhood, the one who'd known him since they were kids, sent him an article about failed entrepreneurs. No message, just the link. The meaning was clear. Within days, the pressure became relentless. Financial worry mounted. He was barely covering rent. Social pressure intensified. Every family gathering became an interrogation. Every conversation with friends felt like an intervention. And the worst part? He started seeing his own doubts reflected back at him through their eyes. If they all saw failure, maybe he was just refusing to see it. Maybe his stubbornness was actually delusion. Maybe they were protecting him from a truth he couldn't face. If you've ever had someone you respect tell you you're wrong about your own life, you know that moment. You know the disorientation, the ground shifting beneath you. And here's where it got hardest. Because doubt, when it comes from outside, is one thing. But when you start believing them, when you internalize their certainty about your failure, that's when everything almost fell apart. He stopped sleeping. His mind would race through the night, cataloging every failure. A project he'd poured months into fell through. Rejection came. Progress stalled. And with each setback, he heard them. His father's voice. See, I told you so. His boss's disappointment. His friend's unspoken pity. Evidence everywhere that they were right. He began researching other careers. He looked at job postings. He rehearsed conversations in his head. How to admit defeat without completely collapsing. How to phrase it so they'd feel vindicated but not cruel. He went through the motions of his work, but the fire was gone. He'd show up at his desk and feel nothing. Just emptiness. The thing that once made him feel alive now made him feel foolish. He'd invested years into this, and what did he have to show for it? Debt, loneliness, the weight of everyone's disappointment. That night, sitting alone in his apartment, a thought surfaced that felt like truth. Maybe the people who love me are right. Maybe I'm the one who's wrong. And if I'm wrong about this, what else am I wrong about? If all these smart people, people who had succeeded, people who had stability, if they all thought he was making a mistake, then maybe he was. Maybe wanting more was just arrogance. Maybe he should be grateful for what he had, instead of destroying himself chasing something impossible. The thought was so convincing, so reasonable, that surrender started to feel like wisdom. And that was when everything changed. Not because something external shifted, but because of one realization that came from the most unexpected place. He scheduled a meeting with his father, not to fight anymore, to surrender. He sat down and prepared to say the words, "You were right. I'm going to stop. I'm going to find something stable." His father would be relieved. His mother would cry, but they'd be good tears. His friends would welcome him back into normal life. He'd find a job. He'd pay his rent without anxiety. He'd be reasonable. He'd be safe. He'd be like everyone else. And the thought of it, the relief of it, made him want to cry. Not from hope, from loss. Because he realized in that moment what he was about to do. He wasn't choosing wisdom. He was choosing surrender. He wasn't being realistic. He was being afraid. And the worst part? He was about to teach himself a terrible lesson. That other people's doubt mattered more than his own knowing. That fitting in was worth sacrificing the thing that made him feel alive. He sat in that chair across from his father and felt something break inside him. Not dramatically, quietly, like a door closing, like a light going out. He thought, I can't do this anymore, not because I don't believe in it, but because I can't survive the weight of all these people telling me I'm wrong. That's not strength. That's just lonely. But then, in that moment of surrender, something unexpected happened. He asked himself one question that changed everything. Before he could speak, before he could say the words that would change everything, a thought stopped him. It came quietly, like a question rising up from somewhere deep. Wait, what am I doing? I'm about to give up on something I know to be true because other people can't see it yet. But that doesn't mean I'm wrong. It means they're not ready, or they're afraid, or they're limited by their own experience. The thought was so simple it felt dangerous. Because if that was true, if their doubt said nothing about his path and everything about their limitations, then he'd been asking the wrong question this whole time. He'd been asking, am I wrong? When he should have been asking, are they limited? He thought about his father, a good man, but a man who'd never tried anything unconventional in his life. His boss, brilliant in her field, but only in the field she'd chosen 30 years ago. His friends, good people, but people who'd never heard the quiet knowing he'd heard. Every single person who doubted him was looking at evidence. But evidence of what? Evidence that the path was hard, yes. Evidence that results hadn't appeared yet, yes. But that wasn't evidence that he was wrong. It was evidence that he was still in the beginning. And beginnings always look like failure to people who haven't stayed long enough to see the transformation. He took a breath, because here's the thing about other people's certainty. It's usually just the boundary of their own experience or their own fear. And when you understand that, everything shifts. The people doubting him weren't wrong about reality. They were limited by their own reality. Someone who's never seen a seed transform into a tree might tell you seeds don't work. Someone who quit their dream might tell you dreams don't happen. Someone afraid of being alone might tell you that following your conviction means being alone. They're describing their world, not yours. He thought about stories he'd heard. The entrepreneur everyone mocked who built a company now worth millions. The artist whose family thought she was throwing her life away, now teaching others. The musician who played coffee shops for 5 years before his first real opportunity. All of them had faced the same wall of doubt. All of them had been told the same things. But none of them had believed it. They'd continued anyway. And something happened. Not overnight. Not dramatically. Just momentum building. Results appearing. The world slowly catching up to what they'd already known. He realized that his father, his boss, his friends, they weren't lying to him. They were just describing the boundary of their own experience. His father had never seen a non-conventional path work, so to him, it couldn't. His boss had never taken a real risk, so to her, it seemed reckless. His friends had never heard the quiet knowing, so to them, it seemed like delusion. But their doubt said nothing about his path. It said everything about their limitations. And then it hit him, it's okay to be the only one who believes right now. That doesn't make you delusional. That makes you ahead. So, he made a decision. He wasn't going to ignore the feedback, but he wasn't going to let it become his identity or his stopping point. He was going to continue, and he was going to watch what happened. Within weeks, something shifted. Not in the world around him. In him. His energy changed. He stopped checking his phone constantly, searching for validation from people who didn't understand. He wasn't performing anymore. Wasn't trying to convince anyone. He was simply building. And something happens when you stop seeking approval and start honoring your knowing. People feel it. Doors begin to open in unexpected ways. A contact reached out about an opportunity he hadn't pursued. Someone who'd mocked him privately asked for advice. Small wins accumulated. A project succeeded. Then another. Months passed. A year. 2 years. People who'd doubted him quietly started asking how he'd done it. His mother, who'd worried so much, saw the results and her concern transformed into pride. His father, who'd been so certain it wouldn't work, asked him to explain his strategy. His boss noticed his focus had sharpened and offered him flexibility he'd never thought possible. He'd transformed not just externally but internally. He no longer second-guessed himself. When doubt arose, he recognized it as just a feeling, not truth. He'd built something real. He'd acquired skills. He'd created results. And most importantly, he'd proven something to himself that no one else could ever prove for him, that his knowing mattered more than anyone else's doubt. He would sometimes think about what would have happened if he'd quit that day, if he'd believed them. He wouldn't just be in a different job. He'd be someone who gave up on himself because other people were afraid. That was the real cost. And that transformation wasn't because he suddenly had external proof that he was right. It was because he stopped waiting for external proof and committed to his internal knowing. That's when everything changed. Here's the truth that changed everything for him. And it's the truth that can change everything for you. Other people's doubt is not data about your path. It's data about their limitations, their fears, or their different values. Your belief in something, combined with patience and persistence, is far more reliable information than their certainty that you should stop. Because here's what happens to most people. They never try the things that matter to them, not because they can't, but because they let other people's doubt become their doubt. And they never find out what would have been possible. This person didn't. He found out, and now he knows something most people never will, that the lonely space between your knowing and others' doubt is exactly where everything that matters gets built. It's not that others' opinions don't matter. It's that their opinion about your path matters less than your knowing about your path. There's a difference between listening to feedback and surrendering your knowing to their doubt. One makes you wiser, the other makes you small. It wasn't easy to keep going. It was lonely. It was scary. But it was his path to walk. And now it's yours, if you choose it. So here's what I want you to remember. Don't let others' doubt become your doubt. Let it become your proof that you're onto something they're not ready to see yet. If you're building something and everyone's telling you it won't work, if you're on a path that makes sense to you but confuses everyone around you, if you're carrying the weight of people's doubt and it's making you question your own knowing, this is for you, right now. You don't need their belief to continue. You need your belief. That's it. That's actually enough. It's not selfish to trust yourself over their doubt. It's not stubborn to keep going when they say stop. It's not arrogant to believe in something before it's proven. It's human. It's brave. It's necessary. The shame you feel about choosing yourself, that's not a sign you're wrong. That's a sign you've been taught to value others' certainty over your own truth. And today, you get to stop teaching yourself that lesson. Today, make one small decision based on your knowing, not their doubt. One, that's your starting point. Not a grand gesture, not a dramatic announcement. Just one choice that honors what you know to be true. Their doubt isn't a stop sign. It's information about where they are, not where you can go. You have permission to be the only one who believes right now. You have permission to build something that takes time. You have permission to keep going. How many paths have you already abandoned because you believed someone else's timeline instead of trusting your own? How many more will you abandon if you don't decide today that your knowing matters? Years from now, you won't remember the people who doubted you. You'll remember the version of yourself that kept going anyway. That's who you'll become, not because you were special or gifted or born into advantage, but because you chose to honor what you knew over what they feared. Your belief in yourself is not naive. It's not arrogance. It's sacred. Protect it like your life depends on it, because your life, the real, meaningful version of it, does. And one day, when someone you love is standing where you're standing now, carrying everyone's doubt, questioning their own knowing, you'll tell them this story. You'll be proof that it works. That patience combined with self-belief creates unstoppable momentum. That others' doubt doesn't determine your destiny. Your belief does. See him now, not defeated by doubt, not seeking permission, just building, quietly, persistently, proving to himself what everyone else will eventually understand. You get to be that person too, starting now, starting today. This is your moment. This is your path, and your knowing is enough.